Hi, everybody. So nice to see you guys here. I'm so excited for this live. We are talking with Kat Ho, who is our guest for this week, and she has the most unique journey of all that I've ever heard. And so powerful, so inspiring, so encouraging. And so I'm going to bring her on. She just joined so that we can talk about standing in your power and in your truth again, once more, and go in depth more as well, because there's so much there. And our podcast was, I think it was like somewhere around 40 to 50 minutes, but we actually spent like 3 hours together because we just couldn't stop connecting and talking on, empowerment and what it is to conquer any struggle, anything within you that is hindering you, blocking you. So this conversation is going to be great. Kat, if you can just request to join and I'll bring you on. That way we can get the conversation started. Super excited for this. It's going to be so fun. There you go. Yay.
Super excited. Been waiting for this for too long.
Hey.
Hi.
Oh my God, I'm so stoked to be here, dude.
I'm so excited.
Oh man. Yeah, we talked for 3 hours that day. Like that was awesome. I'm surprised that we could fit that in to
Yeah.
one podcast episode, like honestly.
It was so much, and it was so hard to even just like edit because there was so much information and so much good conversation that we had. And so it was so fun. And what's cool about the story behind our podcast, my episode on your podcast
Right.
and your episode on my podcast, is that you reached out and same day, we met finally for the first time.
Yeah.
And then recorded and talked for like 3 hours and just like fell in love with each other. We're sisters.
Dude, our souls already knew each other, which is hilarious because I'm like, you know what, with anyone else, they're gonna be like, who the hell is this weirdo just reaching out being like, hi, I don't know you, let's talk and record it. And I just knew that you'd be down for it, and you were. Yeah. So now we're connected. Yeah.
Now we're connected. It's so cool.
So bad.
My favorite part about the entire podcast is you talking about your journey. I think it is so powerful. It is so inspiring. There is so much to it, and you didn't shy away from talking about the struggles, about the pain, about just like working through stuff and finding yourself. And so for anybody who hasn't listened yet and who is even listening to this replay, you have to go listen to her podcast episode because it's amazing. It's an amazing story, and so inspiring. But for you, in looking back, do you feel like, man, I overcome so much shit? Or do you kind of look back now and you're like, no, I'm good. Like, I got this.
It's really funny because I remember, you know how I feel about like time and how it's not linear, like it's just ever present, right? I remember I was standing on the beach as a child, and because for those of you that don't know, like I grew up like right down the road from the beach, so I would be there all the time, and that's like the first place I connected with like spirit, creator, God, whatever. And but I remember standing there and like my upbringing was very chaotic, as many upbringings are, and I come from like I have immigrants on both sides of my family, but I was raised by one of them. And so there was just like a lot of pressure all the time of like, you're gonna work hard, you're not gonna make shit for it, like it's not gonna be, you know, like you're gonna work hard and that's just what you have to do to survive. And like there's really no bliss or joy in that. And it's not that they were like trying to dampen my spirit, it was just like they, you know,
that was their perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I remember standing on the beach and like, you know, the people that I needed in my life as a kid weren't present. And I, you know, my friends at school would be like kind of bummed about that and like get weird, you know, like, oh, we don't want to ask about like the parents, we don't want to ask about da da da. And I remember just thinking, like looking out into the ocean and just feeling so held and just knowing. And like, I heard the voice just so clear of, dude, like you are good. Like it's fine. Like it was super casual. You know me by now. Like, you know,
I love it. Only God, spirit, source, universe, whatever, would say, hey, dude, you got this to you, Kat. You are a
right.
true Californian.
That is my channel. Like it just
Yes.
comes through like that. Yeah.
I love it.
But yeah, I just knew, and I knew from a young age. I literally remember I was 7 years old when I said this, and I'm like, how the hell did I even learn this word? But I was like, you know, someone was asking me like, hey, are you okay? We heard, you know, such and such happened at home, and I was like, yeah, I don't really believe in like using my experiences as a crutch, so I'm fine. Like, you know, and so that, I don't know, that mentality has just always been with me, and it's not that I try, like I'm trying. It's just like innately that connection with source, with spirit, just knowing that you're held. And then like, that's how you reclaim your power. That's how you stand in your power. That's how you allow abundance in. That's how you call the shit in that you like, you're worth it. You know what I mean? And so, yeah.
I love that because from such a young age, and most of us don't have that correlation, like we can't even link it, is we define ourselves by our situation, our circumstance, our experiences, and so therefore truth is always relative, right? So then worthiness and value is always relative based off of if you're valued and if you're worthy and if you experience acceptance and love. And so from 7 years old, you got this revelation that I'm not defined by what people say. I'm not defined how people treat me. I'm not defined by my situation and circumstance in life. I am worthy of every good thing, and I'm not going to take your expectation and make it mine. I'm going to have my own expectations. I'm going to have my own dreams, and I'm going to pursue them.
Yeah. Yeah. And
At
so many
7.
at 7. Right. And you know, that's what shows me that it's like time doesn't fucking exist. Like you're sorry, am I allowed to cuss on this? I don't okay. Um like time doesn't exist, and it's like, you know, your soul is always your soul. Your soul knows who you are. You just kind of have to like remember. So like when we're children, that remembering is very potent because you're not in remembering, you're in it, like you already know. And then we're told to forget along the way because it makes people uncomfortable. And so often that like just how I am naturally, you know, like knowing who I was as a kid, like not who I am because of what I do, or like, oh, she's 7, like these are her hobbies. She loves dolphins. That's, you know what I mean? It's like, no, I like knew. Um, and it's bit me in the ass a ton growing up, like a ton. And it wasn't until like maybe just a few years ago where I was like, dude, you know what? Like in all love, fuck it. Because it doesn't matter, and I'm doing a disservice to myself. I'm doing a disservice to my community if I allow other people's projections, which that's on them. That's their truth. If I allow them into my sphere, I'm not presenting my best self to them that they can be inspired by or even be triggered by, and then like be able to turn that into something and do something with that, because triggers are just as valid as inspiration. So I don't know, just like owning it, like
I love it. I love your I seriously love your strength. I get so jazzed up with just your level of fortitude and strength from just such a young age. You knew what you wanted. And part of what you shared, which I was like, Mom, I did a podcast episode with this chick at 9 years old. She was like, hey, grandparents, buy me a ticket. I'm out of here. I'm out of this shit. I am no longer tolerating this. And she was like, oh my gosh. And I think it's just insane, like your level of strength and like you just know who you are. And I think that's one of my favorite things about you is one, you're such a beautiful person, but two, you stand in your power in a way that I want to,
Oh,
and I just love it. I
thank
love
you.
it.
I don't want to cry on a live, damn it. Like,
But
yeah,
it's true. It's
it
true.
is.
It's like not very many women do that and do it gracefully too, because I
Right.
think a lot of times we end up kind of coming off, not that this is wrong or anything, but it may not be truly authentic, but more like masculine, because we need to show strength. And
Yeah.
that's kind of our only understanding of what strength looks like, is masculinity. And so we end up kind of being more bushy in, with trying to stand in our power. But what is really beautiful is when you're able to be your authentic self, and just getting a little understanding of your personality and who you are, and then seeing you like stand in your power, your truth, in an authentic way. I think that's what's really inspiring, because I know for me, I've stood in my strength, so I thought, and I became more masculine,
Yeah.
which I am not. I'm very much a girly girl.
Mhm.
But in order to be, in order to ward off, intruders, enemies, um, people that would try to take advantage of me, I just kind of stood in what I thought was my strength, and kind of just trying to deflect anything that
Totally.
would try to take me over,
Mhm.
anyone, anything. And whether that's at work, in the workplace, or for me, it was also in church a lot,
Yeah.
um, because you get a lot of weirdos in church.
Oh,
So I would end up
God.
having, yeah, I would end up having to stand in my power, but kind of in a more masculine energy, and
Mhm.
channeling that instead of a powerful feminine energy, which is more authentic to me personally. So
Yeah.
I think that's what's really cool, is standing in your truth, standing in your power. And you did that at such a young age. So you've learned that lesson. You already knew that lesson, and didn't need to relearn that. And so I think that message that you have for everyone, male or female, um, it doesn't matter. That story of yours, of your life,
Mm,
is so powerful. So
thank you. Yeah, I think what you said can resonate with probably everybody, to a
mhm.
certain extent. And um, what's really interesting is it's like, you said like you're a girl, you're feminine, but the masculine that was like coming out in those times where it was like survival and like protection that you
Yes.
needed, it
Yep.
it wasn't your true masculine, because we're
Yeah.
all balanced beings. We're all balanced in our divine feminine and masculine.
Yep.
But what it was like, society shows you only the hyper masculine, like
Yes.
imbalanced version,
Yep.
because that's what steals us away from like our power. That's what literally disempowers us.
Hmm.
So that's your only example, like not you but all of us, that's our
Hmm.
example of what it is to be masculine,
Yep.
and then this is our example of like what it is to be feminine, and just like being passive, like you don't
Right.
speak up, rude, like, and it's just so far from the truth, because the divine masculine and the divine feminine, yes, they are very different, but at the same time they vibrate at the same frequency, so they both serve the same purpose, just in a slightly different way. But we all have that balance within us. We just have to be aware of like, oh, you know what? This situation is triggering me to like, like as a woman. Okay, I lived in Utah. Like I've lived in Utah the past 2 years. It's fucking hard to live in Utah as a brown woman, you know?
Wow.
And so what I like say when I'm out there, even in a leadership role, it's not taken seriously. And like it's pretty wild. Not that that's new, like I've experienced that before, but like that's just a whole different culture. So, I'm there and I'm speaking up because I know what I'm talking about, and it's not well received. And instead of being defensive, and instead of being like, hey, dude, like, I know what I'm talking about, it's like, you know what? I'm going to channel in my divine feminine and gracefully present the message that I'm trying to convey. And in that, my masculine is activated because I'm taking aligned action in my intention. of conveying this in a graceful way. So it's just like, it's a really delicate play to find balance, but it's not that hard. It's actually really simple, you know?
Once you find it, once you figure out your balance and you know what you are, who you are, when you are in balance, the more we can attune to that, right? Which is your inner knowing, your intuition, and feeling balanced, knowing you're in that flow state, as well as you have structure, right? All those different attributes of both masculine and feminine energy. And that isn't gender specific.
Right.
So which is really cool. And I didn't know that
Mm-hmm.
until earlier this year when I dug in and researched it, trying to understand it. And I was like, oh, I didn't know I had both. I thought I only had feminine energy. And that helped me to see when I was triggered, how I would kind of come out of balance to compensate, and to, I guess, just to combat whatever it was I was getting triggered by, and I would come out of balance not knowing. And so it's so cool. The more we are aware of who we are and our true authentic self is how we can step into our power as well. And that's one way of understanding who we are, how we act, how we interact, and the choices that we make, the responses that we have, the inner responses that we have. And that's how we can then move through life. And when we have situations and circumstances like you experienced adversity, and because you knew who you were and you knew what you are in balance, you know, when you're being really authentic, you knew that you didn't have to overcompensate, because you being you is actually the most powerful force that you could use to combat adversity, bigotry, racism, whatever, right? And so that actually is more influential, which we don't realize maybe at the time, that we're being actually really influential when we're doing that, because they're getting you divinely represented. And that way it actually can go past any kind of perspective, mindsets, you know, that they have, and it can actually pierce into their hearts more than they probably realize,
because
which is really cool.
Love and rooted in integrity, and not, you know, it's not a reactionary response to, like, you know what, they expect this of me, or oh, they're not going to expect this of me, like, let me just go full blast. And it's like, that is not going to make a sustainable impact. That's just going to, like, perpetuate literally what you don't want, like, you know. So yeah, that balance, it's, we all have it within, and it's like so much more simple to access than we realize. And the simplest way I could put it for people who are like, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean that's simple? Literally just surrender, which can be the hardest things, like, for us to do as humans. You just like, in all love, just fuck it, and then, like, hands open, heart open, mind open, and then you just receive all that information, like, instantly, when you truly are in that state, you know. So
I think another thing that you said too is, another way of standing in your power is operating out of a place of love for people. And for you, like, you probably went into maybe a bit of compassion, like, wow, they are unable to receive the gift that I'm giving them because of their ideology, their beliefs, you know, their perspectives of just my appearance. And that's so sad, that they're not able to receive the gift that I am bringing, and they're not able to receive it, identify it, receive it. And so when you have compassion for people that are like that are probably, it can feel probably like you're the worst of the worst right now, you know, when people are like that. When you have compassion, you are choosing to love them, see them for their highest, best, and good, whatever you can. But that is actually more of a powerful response than basically saying, you know what, fuck you guys, fuck you. I'm not gonna try, I'm not gonna share, I'm not gonna give any more to this. And there's a balance there, because you don't want to ever go into a situation.
To an extent.
Well, it probably was warranted. Because at the same time, you need to, when you're standing in your power, when you're connected, right, you know what you're divinely meant to do, and when it may be a situation where you're being taken for granted or taking advantage of, right? And so you don't want to also just like pearls before swine, right?
Yes.
Which is an awful kind of analogy, but it's biblical, so whatever.
Yeah, but for sure, you have to have discernment with
you have to have discernment
where you allot your energy, because like where you spend your energy, that's where you're investing. That's where that seed is planted. Do you really want to plant something in the soil of some bullshit, or do you want to plant it in something that's like sustainable and it's gonna blossom and it's gonna like serve you and them at some point, So
and sometimes I'm just watering the ground. I'm just preparing it and getting it ready for whatever vehicle comes before them that they can accept. It's going to click and it's going to go back into time, and I'm going to be a part of that, getting the ground ready to receive whatever this person is meant to receive, but they're not able to receive right now, and that's okay. That means that maybe you're not going to give it a follow-up effort. You're not going to continually invest. It's a one-time deal. And so that's part of discernment too. But being your most authentic self, standing in your power as in love, right? And loving someone and maybe a group of people. And that is a few of the ways that you can stand in your power as you go throughout life and experience adversity or just struggles, situations, circumstances where you're not being treated right, you're not being received, or you're just going through a hard time. Like you experienced that in your life, and that didn't phase you because you knew what you were meant to do.
And the cards I was dealt and everything, that doesn't define me. My response is who I am. It's not what you do, it's your inner response, and then naturally that's going to manifest in your external, like application to how that looks in your life. Like I had the card stacked against me. Like I hate that phrase, but to like make it relatable to people who may feel that way, and I'm not saying that's invalid. That is a valid feeling. You are allowed to feel that way, but what are you going to do with that? Like I come from, like, I'm indigenous here to America, but then I have immigrants on both sides. So that lack mentality, and then also with my indigenous roots, having everything stripped away at the same time. And I remember all of this on a cell level, like it's literally encoded in my DNA. So having to reprogram and transmute all of that negative energy, all of that like energy of not enoughness, of hopelessness that my ancestors had to face, and like cutting cords with that, but not just throwing it away, cutting cords with it and then bringing it back and transforming it into something new. That is something we are all capable of. You just have to give yourself the opportunity to do it. Like it's powerful work. It's not easy, but it's worth it, and like what's easier but ends up biting you in the ass is just avoiding it and like spiritually bypassing. Like that's not going to serve you, and all of that shit that is unaddressed is going to come back up, and it's going to hurt even worse than just looking at it through a lens of like grace and love for yourself and being like, wow, you know what, that is not ideal, but I'm ideal, and then just going from it on that foot, so
how many people do you see that give in to their situation, their circumstance, what they're told all their life? How many people give into that negative energy, feed into that negative energy, and stay stuck in that place in their life?
My family.
They never. Yeah. I know people who do that, and it's not that I pity them, but it's hard because you can't even speak to it because they just won't see anything else other than, I live in poverty, I can't make my rent, I can't make my bills, I can't feed my kids. And they stay in that place, which is a really real place. And it's okay to have those feelings. There's nothing wrong with it. But like you said, literally transforming those thoughts into, but I can. and I will, and I
Mhm.
won't give up, and I'm going to exhaust every option, and I'm not going to just like lay down and take it.
Right.
I'm not going to put this on as like an identity, something that I wear around on
Like
me.
badge or
Um,
whatever. Right.
yeah, like I'm not going to become this. Like
Mhm.
this may be my situation, my present circumstance. I may be dealing with poverty or being in an abusive relationship, or you know
Mhm.
what I mean? But I'm not going to continue on. I'm not going to just like lay here, take it, and stay here. I'm going to do something about it.
Mhm.
And that starts inside, right? And then once you develop that inner strength, then you're able to actually stand in your power. And I think it's when people get to the end of the rope, they realize just how powerful they are. And a
Mhm.
lot of times that's what forces us into standing up, you
Yeah.
know, but it's a hard road. It's a hard road to walk. I've been there and I get it when people get to that place, but oftentimes we have to kind of get laid out on the floor, you know, and feel completely desolate and
Yeah.
like I have nothing to
Yeah.
get
I
there,
want to
you know.
speak into that a little bit, if that's
Hmm.
cool.
Go
Um,
girl.
because my like most of my life, I've been learning my hard lessons and like just necessary lessons from a place of hardship, from a place of like my 7 year dark night of the soul. 7 goddamn years, like that's a long time. Okay, so
Yeah.
like of like it wasn't just like 7 years, like here and there. It was like every day I
Yeah.
was emotionally and spiritually in the pit, and like I see in like vibrant color, and it was just I saw black every day, and I
Mm.
felt it every day, like physically, right? So I've been in the shit, and like I have learned from that, and I have built a beautiful like queendom from that. However, this past year, living in the bus in the middle of the desert, no running water, we had jack shit, my husband and I, and somehow made it. Um, we didn't like receive any benefits or anything like that. Nothing. Okay. Somehow made it. Um, and in that place of like simplicity and like, yes, minimal, but just like literally nothingness, we had so much joy and we had so much contentment. And I began to feel chronic bliss like every day. And that's not saying every day was easy,
Yeah.
but it was like I was enveloped in this blanket of gratitude, and that's where the bliss came from. And I learned for the first time in
Wow.
my life how to learn hard and necessary lessons from a place of joy, from a place of contentment, from a place of happiness and bliss. You can learn
Mm.
hard lessons not only in the pit. Yes, those are
Yeah.
essential and those are valid, but you can also learn from a place of bliss. And we need to stop just putting into the universe like, you know what, I'm really going through the shit and I just need to like learn this lesson and but whatever, like, because you're calling more of that shit in. So when you're in the
You're gonna
shit,
manifest that.
yes, you're literally like when you were saying, like laying down and taking it, it's like, well, yes, sometimes that happens and that's
Hmm.
okay. It sucks.
Sometimes it's the road.
Yeah, sometimes that's the road, but you don't need to accept that. You need to be aware of this is where I'm at right now, but you don't accept that. That is not for your highest good. That is
Mm-hmm.
not how you need to learn your lessons.
That's not always how you need to learn. Yeah. Sometimes we think that's the only way to learn is the hard road. And it's like, no, you can learn a lot when things are good.
Right.
You just gotta
And
listen.
society just doesn't doesn't present it that way because that would empower the hell out of us. That would help us to remember like at an accelerated rate,
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I like that a lot, Kat. That's a really good point. Because I think also in the spiritual community, we can glorify our woes. And
Mm,
that's a quote.
yeah.
Don't glorify your woes. You know, you don't want to glorify the woes. You want to glorify the woo woos. So, like the moments when you're up as well, because
Mhm.
yes, we have highs and lows, but the lows aren't the only places where you find treasure in your life, where you find the gold, where you learn the lessons where you experience growth. You can also experience growth when you're doing really well. The thing is that we tend to tune out when things are good. We tend to like to, okay, now I just want to coast, right? I just want to like chill and coast. And we don't tune in as often as we used to when we were going through something back there.
That's a really good point.
So I think that's like that's the standing in your power, tuning in to your gut, to your knowing, to your intuition. Keep up your connection practice, whether that's like meditation or dancing. Like if dancing is how you connect, right? Or listening to music is how you connect with spirit, God, source, the universe, your guides, however you connect, just continue that connection practice because that looks different for everyone. And that's part of the fun discovery too, is how do I connect? I may connect way different than somebody else, but however you connect, continue to connect even when it's good, because there's gold there as well. And that's your opportunity also to get more out of it because you're not having like a present situation or circumstance that is difficult, that is taking your energy and attention. So you're able to actually hear more, experience more, go deeper into things without having something that you're specifically going to God, spirit, source with, right? Like, help me, please, like, you know, get me through this, like, I need you. Instead of just having that be your conversation, you're actually able to go, show me what's up today, you know, show me what I need to see, show me, go, I want to go deeper, I want to go higher, I want to understand more mysteries, right? I want to understand the mystery of all that is and was and always will be. I want to be taken into that place. I want to go transcend even realms, dimensions. I want to travel.
You can do that sober too. You don't need.
Yeah, and you don't need stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have had so many like cosmic experiences before I even tried plant medicine, like ever, you know, because that was always my thing. I was like, dude, like God, creator, source is so ever present within us, and like there's so many ways to access it. And like you were saying, meditation and your practice and your ritual looks different for everyone. Like I hula hoop all the time. Is that spiritual? I don't fucking know, but like that's how I connect and that's how I pray.
Movement.
That's like I that's how I embody, you know.
That's
and
so
like
cool.
Yeah, and that's an inner child thing. She came to me like back last March and was like, "Hi, I would like to hula hoop again," and reminded me of why I hula hooped when I was a kid, and that was my escape. Like when I was angry or neglected, I would go onto the beach or just like, you know, outside, and I would, this sounds so funny, but like I would aggressively hula hoop. Like I don't even know if anyone can picture that, but like I'm just like an angry kid throwing, you know, like these hoops up, and then I'm like, I was so mad all the time. That's how I process my rage. Like, and then
I can see it. I would be like, I would have that face as I'm like hula hooping.
I was a wild child, but like, you know, and that helped me to not beat the shit out of people. Like, so
that's good.
But yeah, like prayer and your connection can look as silly as hula hooping like a crazy person, or you know, singing or vocalizing, or like I don't know how to sing, but like I do that, you know, like just whatever feels good, or even like through how you feed your temple, how you feed yourself, your health is a prayer, your health is an offering. So
working out, that can, I feel like a lot of people go into that dopamine happy place when working out or doing or hiking, jogging, you know, runner's high is a real thing. And I think that's also an opportunity to clear your mind, but meditate and connect with your spirit, you know, and work through whatever you need to work through in order to connect with that, and have that quiet. So a lot of people love that. So yeah, I think it's really cool. When you said hula hoop, did you ever play with that thing that you put on your ankle and then you like skip? It's like a skip it or something like that.
I did, but that was not my jam. So I would like double hula hoop. So like
oh my gosh.
Hoops, and I would throw them up in the air. I don't know if I can still do it. I haven't actually I have tried and it didn't go well, but when I was a kid, I'll get back to it. But like when I was a kid, I would throw these hoops in the air, catch them on my
Wow.
arms, and then like while I'm like doing it on my arm, you know, I would be able to get it back on both of them, back onto my body, and then hoop down to my legs, and then bring it back up. I'm like, who the
Girl,
fuck can do that? I don't know. I
you
don't.
were like in the zone.
That was my
You were
slow.
channeling, man. You were like, I'm getting rid of all this energy. I'm moving it.
Oh my god, so funny. And like it's just as simple as that. Like your connection with source is always there. You just have to say like, "Hey, hi." Like, you know, like just that awareness. Just like it's so simple. And
Mm-hmm.
like the spiritual community I see all the time, they tend to, and this is not a judgment, this is an observation, like a discerning observation, is that they tend to over glorify and over mystify these experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And source is just as casual and just as miraculous as
Mm-hmm.
we are. We are all these things all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's wild shit. It's also, this is our natural state. Like,
Mm-hmm.
stop over mystifying it. Like, let's demystify this and really begin to embody it. It's
Yeah.
not that hard. So,
It's not that hard. We can connect. We were literally created to connect. Like the way that we are created, spirit, soul, and body, we it's not foreign. It's not something outside of ourselves that we have to connect with. It's we are spirit. We are connected to spirit. We are connected to the universe. And I think we know that, but we don't quite yet know that yet,
right.
And so that's
Feel it in
like
the body.
coming
Yeah.
into your truth. And like you said, there are tons of benefits to plant medicine, and that's
Yes.
why it exists, right? But if you use that as your only method of connection, is when you now are limiting yourself and limiting what you were literally inherently came here
Able to
with,
do.
the ability to connect. So it's great because you can have a different experience, right? A different kind of connection with God's spirit, combo, ayahuasca, all, whatever the other plant medicines are. I don't even know all of them. But you can connect for sure. Like it's a real thing. But using that as a crutch and an only way of healing and unearthing like your shadow work, and unearthing things that are hidden or, have been pushed down for many years. I just did an Akashic reading with Rita, who is the episode previous to
I
you.
had a Akashic reading 2 weeks ago, so
Oh,
that's, we'll talk
isn't that
after.
amazing?
Yes.
Yeah, we need to talk after
Yes,
for sure.
please do.
And I had a past life regression too, and I need to talk to you about that one too.
Yes.
That was crazy.
Rad.
So rad. And so I think that those are great ways of connecting, but I unearthed like a core belief that I didn't even realize I had. It didn't take plant medicine to do it. All it took was me connecting. And Rita didn't even tell me like what it was. She just said, I think there's a bit of unworthiness around something in this area. And I was like, really? And so I like sat with it, and all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, oh, I didn't even realize I had that. And I immediately lost it. I'm not a big crier, but I'm okay to cry. But like, I don't cry often, like, unless it's like, it's hitting me. It hit me so hard. And it wasn't like, it was just a release, and it was an immediate release. When I realized it, it was immediate. And I feel so different after that.
You felt
Like
so
I
light
really,
in that moment,
yeah,
you know.
I literally felt like that was like a twisty tie that just needed to come undone. And as soon as it was undone, it was like all this tension that I didn't realize I was living in, like, I didn't realize I had that. And it was crazy. So there's so many methods of connecting. And maybe there was just something in me that wasn't willing to see that. And so in that Akashic reading, that was one of the things that was in my oversoul, or just whatever, and that my guides wanted to show me and wanted me, because it's really strategic with what I'm stepping into in the next month, actually yeah, no, it's the 20th. So
Yeah.
according to March, and everything I'm stepping into. And so, yeah, it was so strategic. So we got to trust our guides. We got to trust our angels, God, source, the universe. They all know and work together and talk together in order to help us and support us on our journeys. And so we have a lot more support and guidance than we realize. And we just, yeah, Justin, it might have been fear. I think so. I think also it was a belief. It literally was a belief that I had because I was told by a pastor that you're only worthy if this. Like, you're only able to connect with God if this. And so I immediately wrote myself off because I was like, well, like, I don't know if I fit that then. Like, now I feel excluded and like I'm unworthy of connection. I'm unworthy of connecting with God, source, the universe. Isn't that crazy? So that went like years back because I grew up as a Christian. So that was like from childhood. I had heard that like on a from a preacher or pastor. So it was crazy. Yeah.
And like,
so I have a lot of stuff like that.
What you were saying with, fear, I just want to speak into that a little bit, and what you were saying, like fear, that fear that just seems so believable when you're in that sort of environment, when like it's elders speaking to you who like, oh, they have my best interest in mind. I'm like, you know what? They're fucking human. Like, the universe has your best interest in mind. But with the fear that they project onto you to respond from, that creates like, where fear is present, there is no love, right? If there's no love, there's no self-worth. And then if there's no self-worth, there's no standing in your power, there's no claiming your sovereignty. The universe, source, God, creator, is always conspiring in your favor. Literally always. That's why you're incarnated. So you need to claim that. And once you claim that, that activates your self-worth to then step out boldly into the world. So.
And a lot of religion and what I experienced in Christianity was a lot of manipulation and control. So I still have maybe some blinders, which is rooted in fear and control, manipulation. That's how, just historically, that's how they controlled. For many years, people weren't even allowed to read the Bible for themselves. It was only spoken on Sundays in chapel or in church. And so that was part of what Winston Churchill was about, was we need to free, like, people should have the right to be able to read the word for themselves and decide for themselves what they believe, even within Christianity. And so that was like revolutionary back then. But still, we have this, there's this culture within Christianity and maybe even most religions that you sit back and you receive whatever you're being taught without necessarily
questioning it,
like testing it. And seeing like, what am I connecting with? So as a kid, I grew up in this. My dad was a pastor, so I kind of already had this association with trusting whoever my dad or mom brought into the church to speak to us. I just kind of automatically trusted that. So I've had a lot of things just as an adult that I've kind of gone back like, why was that allowed? Or why was this person allowed there? Because like, that's actually not God. That's not love. That's not loving people. That's actually fear and manipulation and control. Even the concept of hell, reincarnation, was taken out of the Bible thousands of years ago because they didn't want people to think they had multiple chances to get it right. They wanted to control them so that they do what they want them to do. They tithe and give all their money to the church, right? So there's that manipulation and control. And so I think we can experience that in multiple places. And to be really, really honest, Kat, that exists in the spiritual community hardcore, where whether someone is saying that they're channeling something or someone or social memory complex or ETs, whoever they say that they're channeling. And so therefore, I am the ultimate source of truth. And, you need to listen to me. You need to donate to me. That kind of control, I can sniff it because I grew up in it, but I grew up in it in a context of religion.
Different,
but it's actually the same thing. Yeah, same thing
Yeah.
in a different costume.
Different mask.
So,
Exactly.
yes. And
Yeah.
so we need discernment. And that's part of standing in our power, right? And in our truth is we want to be able to have discernment, and we want to be able to decide for ourselves what is true, what is relevant to us, what is for our highest good, and the benefit also of all, right? And so I think that's always a check for me too. Any content I produce or put out, I'm always asking, is this only for my benefit, or is this for the benefit of others? Is this for the highest good of all that follow me? Well, then, okay, cool, let's do it. Let's post it, or let's talk about this, because I don't want to just get on some bandwagon just because it's popular and it's what's going to get me more followers and more money to be able to sustain my living, right? I don't want to operate from that marketing scheme.
That's scarcity, and I see it in the spiritual community
Scarcity
all the time.
mindset.
Let's call it out right now, you know? I see that, and it's masked in a, oh, you know what? If you're living, like, if you're still living in scarcity, that's why you can't afford my fucking $30,000 a year, you know? And it's like, okay, I'm gonna do my best to honor the simple fact that that is your truth. However, I know what it's like to live in scarcity because of my physical upbringing, you know? And then I know what it's like to transmute that. What Justin's saying about step into fear and transmute it into willpower, I took my scarcity mindset that was ingrained generationally on literally every aspect of who I am as a scientific human being, and I changed it. I shifted it, and that generational patterning ended with me. And my family knows that, and they don't understand it, and that's okay. Like, I'm not here to make people understand it, but it ended with me. And from that abundance, like, abundance isn't lustful. Abundance isn't like, you know, I like, you need to subscribe to me and like you'll get all these things. Like, I'm here to heal you. No, we are all divine reflections of one another. Your inspiration, your triggers, like all of that we're literally just learning together. So when, and I guess I'm just speaking to like whoever might be confused with, well, who do I listen to? You know, listen to you, channel it, clear your fucking channel, get off social media for like a week and clear your channel. And I'm not saying that as like, oh, that sounds good to say. I've done that. I recently did a 10-day cleanse off social media, and it really wasn't even that hard. And I'm very active on social media because I have to be for my business, but I also have to honor myself. So when, you know, my inner voice came through and was like, 10-day punch of karma, let's go, bitch. I'm like, okay, turn off my phone. Easy. Didn't even look back, right? You have to clear your channel so that you have discernment, like she was saying. And we just forget that. And we let other voices, even positive ones in the spiritual community, come in and, you know, they can talk eloquently and like, you know, they know their shit, absolutely. But do they know like what's for your highest good, or are they just marketing your problems as like, I have the solution? That's not abundance. That's taking, that's lack, that's like disparity, you know, like so yeah, sorry for that rant. It was just like a lot.
No, I loved it. No, it was good. It was so good. And I think it's true. There's nothing wrong with someone who has the intention of helping and supporting people. Like for me, I dealt with the victim mentality like my whole life. I probably still have little ties of that, and will probably get triggered to fall back into that place because I lived from that state of mind and state of being for so long, for the majority of my life. And so I have keys to help people unlock it because I have dealt with it for years.
Yeah.
Right? So there's things like that like that's something I can offer to someone to help someone and support someone in their journey. And that is different than just wanting to have someone sign up for a program that is probably, you know, a little bit pricey for the majority of people, especially during 2020. And it's hard because everyone has their price point, right? And what they feel like is in alignment with them. So as long as someone is doing that and truly connecting and saying, this feels in alignment with me, I feel like this is the right price point for the amount of value that I'm bringing and adding, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because we do that at work, like anyone doing a 9 to 5, which I still do. I am adding value and I'm receiving back, right? The value, the exchange. Anytime that value is not being exchanged for whatever you're getting paid, right? That is when you have to reevaluate. And so I even just had this where I had someone approach me with their program just this weekend. And it was like, oh, I only have a couple more spots open, and it starts, today. And so like, in other words, you have to sign up right now. Right?
Yes.
And I was like, whoa. And that is a marketing tactic. And you can feel that pressure because you can feel the energy coming of like, oh, I really, this is going to really benefit me. This is going to really help me. I need to figure out my finances, and I need to sacrifice because I need to invest in myself. And that whole conversation of like, if you're not willing to invest in yourself, then there's another problem there with you, right? That whole kind of mentality as well, I don't like. And for anyone who follows me, I will never do that to you. If you don't feel like you're in alignment, if you don't feel like you're in alignment, or you feel like this isn't right for me right now, it might work later on, or I'll save up for when the program comes around the next time, and so that I can invest in myself, that's fine, right? Like that's you having wisdom and discernment. If you know you're in a place of transition, peer pressure, yes, Kate. If you're in peer pressure, if there's any, it's just another form of peer pressure, really, and it's just for their benefit. But anytime you feel that pressure, totally just quiet it and go, I'm not going to be moved by anything other than my gut, my intuition, what I feel drawn to, what I feel led and guided to do. And I think that's the way that we should live. And as
really
influencers, as influencers, as people that are in service to others, we need to stop with this mentality, because it is a really saturated market. How many life coaches are there on Instagram, right? Hundreds of thousands.
Right.
So we can feel that pressure as people that want to offer services to others to like sound important or rise, rise up to that occasion of being the answer for everybody, right? Because we want to support everybody. I think it ultimately comes from a good place, it ultimately comes from, you want to be in service to others, but you've gotten sucked into this mentality, of like, this is how I have to do this. And there's more ways to do it than that.
And also
and that's
not enoughness, they're like, well, I have to market this like the way other people are for everyone. I'll be the first to say I'm not for everyone, and everyone is not for me. And that's okay.
Same.
Because you know what? If how I go about guiding and whatever, if that doesn't appeal to you, if that doesn't not just like trigger you, because we need to like value triggers, right? As an invitation.
It's an indicator and an invitation. Yep.
Yes, indicator. Thank you. That's perfect.
But it's also an invitation to go deeper and to figure out what's going on. Right. Why am I being triggered?
Exactly. So like, I trigger the hell out of a ton of people. I also inspire the hell out of a ton of people, and both are valid. But if how I go about guiding doesn't resonate with someone in the way of bringing out the best, not just trigger, not just inspire, like if it's not bringing out the best in you, I'm not for you, and you're not gonna get to your highest potential by working with me. And I honor that, like sister, brother, everything, like perfect. That like when I see it in the spiritual community about, you know what, if you're triggered, that's a problem with you. It's not, that's literally exclusionary like mentality. You're not
less than
for diversity.
Like there's something wrong with you, you're unworthy. Like there's something wrong with you, and you need to fix that, is how it's put. But actually it's like, oh, interesting, that's triggering me still, or that's a new trigger I've never seen before. Why did I respond that way? Why did I have that reaction? I'm a why chick, so I always ask why. Why did that touch that area in my heart?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I have that response and that reaction? Why did that immediately offend me and get me upset? I am a justice person, so a lot of times that's why. But I think that it's an invitation for sure. It's first an indicator. Whoop, what's that? And then it's an invitation to go deeper into why am I being triggered? What's there? It could not be something that you've experienced, right? It could be something you've experienced. It could be something karmic. It could be something that you didn't deal with in a previous life. It could be so many different things.
It could be childhood wounding, you know? It could be fucking anything. And I don't know about you, but like I do follow some accounts that trigger me for the sake of learning more about myself and diving deeper, because I am like just so passionate about shadow work, not just, you know, as a, you know, I'm gonna jump into a shadow work ritual on this day, or like have the space, like anytime my shadows want to present themselves, hey, let's sit down and have some fucking coffee and talk it out. I'm ready, you know.
Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
It's that easy. Because when you're standing in your power and in your truth, you're not threatened by anything. Nothing, not even something coming up in you that may be a little scary and a little grouchy. You're just like, oh, okay, let's, like you said, let's sit down, let's have some coffee, let's talk it out, you know, what's going on. Because there is no separateness. And I think that's also something is we're wanting to separate ourselves from triggers. We're wanting to separate ourselves from ego. We're wanting to separate ourselves from the fears that we have. We're wanting to separate ourselves from the bad experiences that we've had in our life or our upbringing or whatever. We are always avoiding pain and pursuing pleasure in our life. And actually, we need to realize there is no part of us that is separate. We are completely and totally connected. And until we understand that and step into that, knowing and knowledge and knowing that connection and how deeply we are wholly connected to our entire journey, to our entire lives, to our entire selves, I think that's when we realize, like, oh wow, okay, so it's actually like Kate said, you need to fix that. Like, you're on your own and you're in the wrong, and that is a separate mentality. Like, that's the mentality of separation, of there's something wrong with me, separate. Right.
We fully encompass light and shadow, and they're both equally valid. I've heard it said before, this might not align with everyone, but it aligns with me because I found it to be true in my own ceremonies that I've held for myself and practices.
Yep.
I have found that my shadow and my light body vibrate at the same frequency. And before I, like, through my whole body experienced that, I knew it. Like, intellectually, I knew that. You know, I was very mindful about, like, that space of sacred neutrality and not being so high all the time, not being so low in the pit, just like vibrating at this very harmonious balance level where divine, feminine, and masculine are equal, and they're seen as that, right? And when I went through the ceremony and I experienced like an embodied version of what that means for it to, you know, vibrate at the same frequency, it all became so clear, and it all became less scary. And so, and that's something that, like, you don't need these, you know, plant medicine, whatever. Like, you can find that within yourself. You can find that sacred balance within. We literally all have access to that. Like, I'm not the answer, you're the answer. Like, you know, so. And when there are, just real quick to go back to what you were saying earlier, with all the life coaches and spiritual coaches and like whatever, beautiful. We're obviously in the industry, and it's awesome. But if it's not rooted in integrity, and if they're not empowering you to be the highest version of who you are, not the highest version of what that looks like in the spiritual community or how good that can look or like whatever, if they're not empowering you to root deeper into your truth, then they're full of shit. And like, you don't need that, because that is not sustainable living. That's going to make you look good and seemingly feel good for a while, but it's not going to sustain, and it's going to fizzle out, and it's going to hurt like hell and probably cost you a lot of fucking money. So
the thing is at least from what I've experienced in religion, is the works mentality is what it's kind of coined.
mm-hmm.
And that means that you have to do in order to be. Anytime that you have to do in order to be, you're not standing in your most highest good place, authentic self, standing in your power and your truth, because everything you do should flow out of who you are, out of your beingness.
Should flow out of, yep, exactly what you're saying. Because from that place of true integrity and authenticity to who you are, without any positive or negative voice influence, it doesn't matter if it's people spewing good shit. That's not even your voice, dude. You know, like if you don't have that anchored in to your root system, it's not going to sustain you, and it's not going to bring out what you need to present to the world for your expansion, you know. So
anytime that someone is talking to you and they're talking to you in a way that you feel like you need them in order to connect with yourself, that's not okay. When you listen to somebody and they are inspiring you and even just motivating you just from who they are, their presence, how they speak, all of that, right? Not just maybe even what they're speaking, but how they're speaking it. And you feel inspired to go like into your closet and connect with yourself. You know, get quiet, get close, get intimate, disconnect from everything and connect with yourself. That is somebody that you definitely want to then maybe invest your time in, your energy in, and even maybe your funds into, because that's somebody that's operating out of an authentic place of wanting your highest good and is loving you and supporting you on your journey. That's true support, right? That's it's not that you can't like get all excited about meeting somebody and love them and connect deeply with them and relate to them, right? Like so many people relate to your story, Kat. So many people are going to listen to this episode that just went live today and are going to be so incredibly inspired, encouraged, and be like, yeah, I haven't experienced half the shit that she experienced. I got this. Like, I can do it too. Like, if she can do it, I can do it too.
Oh my God. Literally, I just want to emphasize that. Like, if I can do any of the things that we talked about in that podcast, oh my God, you guys are like so much more capable. Like, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I look back at it as like, oh my God, like, you know, it's sure, it like, I won, like, it's whatever, but it's more of like, dude, it's casual as fuck and it's cosmic as fuck. And like, anyone can do it. You just have, it sounds so cliche, but like you literally have to know that you're worth more. You know, you already and naturally know that.
Yep. I love it. I love Kate said, thanks for being that for me.
Dude, that's my cousin. She's
I love it.
Yeah, she pushes me to be better all the time.
Oh, Kate. I love it. I also love the fact that we're both wearing red. I love that.
Hilarious. Yes. Yes. I needed this color, your rooting color, you know, your root chakra. Yeah. And that's something with I have like a goddess workshop going on right now that Whitney's a part of, and just
please share about that and how people can connect with that.
Yeah, all I was gonna say, but yeah, I'd love to share. I was gonna say, you know, this first week it's on Divine Feminine. So like Divine Feminine, not just as a cosmic place of being, but like rooting into the body. And then next week we're gonna get into embodiment. Next week we're gonna get into ritual. And then the final week of March, we'll get into integration, which is like kind of inviting your divine masculine in a balanced way. But honestly, this goes right into everything that you were saying about the spiritual community and like, you know, these programs that people throw out there from a place of scarcity, from a place of dishonesty. This is not one of those things. And one, I don't know shit about sales. So like no one should ever be afraid that I'm trying to like weasel them out of their money, because I don't understand that world at all and I don't plan on it. But I created this free offering not because I don't find value in what I do, but you know, I was sitting one night, I wasn't even like in a meditation, and this is what I talk about when I say like clear your channel. Clearing your channel doesn't have to be reserved for meditation. Clearing your channel is just a state of being, and it can be all the time. Like, so you know, I'm just like literally chilling, and all of these downloads just came through. Like it was this is interesting, and I am now making the connection as I'm talking. How I was saying I see in color, it was like, if you can imagine like blue light flowing into like my hollow bone channel. So it was like this white and blue light. Blue is the color that's attached to your throat chakra. And you know, with my podcast, but with all the things that were coming through, it was activating all these things that I have needed to say, all these things that I've needed to get out to the world, right? And so like I couldn't even keep up. Like I'm like, you know, I pulled out my phone and I'm like trying to type all the notes as they're coming through, and I'm like trying to voice record it as it's coming through. And it's like really hard because it was going so fast, but I got the gist of it. And my husband's like sitting on, you know, the other side of the living room staring at me like, what the fuck is she doing? So I'm like, what? You know? And like, poor soul. But the voice that came through like with the light and everything, and I swear I wasn't tripping. Like I'm not on anything. I don't drink. Like I don't, you know, none of that. It was like, you need to make a course of expansion for the divine feminine. We need to offer, I don't know who we is, like I don't know what voice was talking, but just whatever comes up in you is a part of you, right? So it was like, we just need to provide offerings from a place of empowerment rather than here's an issue, I can fix it. Sure, like from our experience both, like you were saying, I love that example of we have keys to help so that you don't have to walk through that darkness alone and you can feel held. Yes, absolutely. However, so often that integrity and like that heart is misrepresented in people who just want to make a quick buck, you know, or like want to look prestigious. And it's not about prestige. It's not about image. It's about embodiment, dudes. Like, and so, yeah, so I was writing my notes and it was like, it translated, because you know how I am and I translate everything over casually. My note said, and my husband was the one that pointed out how fucking weird it was, said round up women. And in my mind, that was a direct translation of all of that, of what I just said. I was like, dude, I want to make this offering completely accessible. What's more accessible than free, you know? So I want to make it so that anyone who's interested in feeling empowered, rooting deeper into themselves, can be a part of it. Like, this is not, being empowered isn't an exclusive club. I want everyone to be empowered. That's why I do what I do, because I'm empowered as shit and I'm just a mirror to all of you, you know? And so, yeah, so then like from there, a complete, I mean, I'm sure you've seen my stories, like every day I'm posting, oh my God, I'm in a flow state. I haven't slept in like, there was like 2.5, it was about 3 days. 3 days.
Oh, wow.
I didn't sleep more than 6 hours in 3 days. And it wasn't because I like was making myself. I was just like in flow. All I had to, and this also wasn't intentional, all I had to consume were green teas and coffee for 3 days. So I just intuitively did like a fast, you know, and like a shit ton of water. And I intuitively did a fast to open up my channel, but I wasn't even trying. It was just like that innate connection with source. Like, you need to clear the gunk so I can pour this in through you. And then after the 3 days, I kind of like came out of my vortex of creating, and I'm like, fuck, I'm hungry. And so I made this course completely from my heart space, not in a salesy, weird way, just like, I want this out there. And then from there, I wasn't even planning on this until I was halfway through creating the course. Then another like divinely inspired offering came through to root those who are ready even deeper into their journey. And the thing was, like, I didn't plan for that. My channel was just open to receiving, and I'm like, what does that look like, you know? So then mid creating this free offering, I created this, it's, you'll see it, and I'm kind of spoiling it right now, but I don't give a shit. It's called Goddess Immersion, and it's going,
wow.
yes, and it goes so deep. And the crazy thing about like not even planning for that is that was totally spirit breathing
That's
life
so cool.
into that. I didn't even know that was an option. And here we are, you know? So Goddess Immersion will emerge in April. And it's for those who, like, you know, they walk through this free offering and they really root deep. And like, if you want to go even deeper, like, you know, take what resonates and like leave the rest. Like, I'm not saying that all of what I'm saying is going to land for you, and I honor that. But for those that it does land for, and for those that like it, you know, creates a genuine soulful curiosity to like, wow, I feel like I'm thriving. That's my goal. That is my goal. And that's where the Goddess Immersion came out of. But the Rise Goddess free offering that we're talking about, it's happening right now. We have a private Instagram group for it that you can be a part of. All I need is like, you know, you to shoot me a DM and say, hey, I want in, and I'll send you the course and everything. Like, you're not subscribed to an email list, because again, I don't know how to do that shit. Like, you know, I know how to do what I do, and I do it well, and that's it. Like, I'm not trying to be any certain way. So yeah, I'd love for any like self-identifying goddesses to be a part of it. And in the private Instagram group, I share, you know, like expansion videos on like what I'm talking about in it. And all these sisters all around the world are connecting. I have people from Australia, from Hawaii, like you're in California right now, like from everywhere. And it's cool shit. And we're doing cool shit together from a place of empowerment, not from a place of lack, not from a place of, I need to fix you. I can fix you. I can't fucking fix you. I can just show you what you're capable of, but you already know. Because when you're inspired by someone like Whitney, when you're inspired by someone like me, that is literally your higher self coming through and just whispering, hi, I'm here, I'm worthy. Like, are you ready, bitch? Let's go. That's it, you know? So,
I love it. And then you also offer Theta-Healing, Reiki, shamanic, right, as well?
No, I'm not certified shamanically yet. Working on calling that in. So if anyone listening has any sort of connection that aligns with, I mean, you've seen who I am. I'm very raw. This is me. Yeah, I'm calling that in right now. So, but yep, I do theta. I do an infusion when I do my like hands-on energy sessions. So it's I still don't know a term for it. That's another thing. Like
intuitive healing. That's kind of what I've said mine is, because it's super unique.
It's super unique, and it changes with everyone. And like, you know, yes, I do like traditional theta healing, which is a very powerful practice. I infuse it with a little bit of Reiki, but I'm still actually getting certified like through my Reiki. So I'm Reiki level 1 right now. I'm working on my second attunement, and then I will get to Reiki master whenever that's aligned. But I infuse like animal medicine into it. I infuse plant consciousness into it without you having to partake in plant medicine, if that makes sense. Earth energy, I don't know, it looks different for everyone, and I just intuit what that person needs in the moment. And we don't really talk beforehand. I just go in, and then we talk during the session. Sometimes we don't, and then sometimes we just talk afterward, and it's a very divine experience. And I've seen some really cool shit, and like my clients, like they have physically visualized things happening, all under the influence of spirit. Like there's nothing else going on. And it's pretty wild for people who you know, like we all have our clair sense, right? Like we all have different
Mm-hmm.
strengths, and whether it's clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, whatever, there's so many more. But people who like didn't think that they were connected to their clairvoyance and like seeing, they've seen things, they've seen a roadmap in my sessions. And that's always like the wildest thing. Like, it's wild, but it also just, well, I already knew that you were going to see that, so it's fine, you know, like it's really cool. So yeah, if anyone wants to work with me with that, I'm working on creating a platform where I can do it virtually, because energy is energy. It barriers like that doesn't, you experience that with your Akashic reading, I'm sure, you know, like, and mine too, she wasn't there and she was all in my records, you know. So there's a way to do it. I just like have to figure it out with technology. However, working on it.
That's awesome. So they can just DM you, or go to your website. Isn't it unearthedofferings.com?
Unearthedofferings.square.site. It's
yes.
Yeah. When you swipe your square thing, it's
yes.
So
cool. So they can just go to your IG and connect and DM you if they have any questions. Yeah. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Kat, thank you so much for being a guest on the Soulish podcast, for reaching out, and for connecting with me, because I love connecting with you and I could just talk to you forever. And about so much. There's so much to talk about. So we need to get you back on the podcast as well later on the next couple months.
Too. She did a badass episode on my podcast too. So if you connect with me on Instagram, you'll find it. It's on Spotify, Unearthed with Kat. And it's the one, I think I labeled it like manifestation goddess, because she is. So she really brings it back like into practicality, whereas I am pretty airy a lot of times. So I thank you so much, sister, for that. And just you're awesome. And I'm so happy we're connected.
So are you. I love you so much. Thank you so much for your time this morning. And can't wait for all of the feedback over the week that people are going to listen and just be so inspired by you. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you. See you guys.
See ya.